Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Kelsey here on YouTube and on Instagram, and today we are going to be working on a backbend, better known as wheel, or in Ashtanga Urdhva Dhanurasana. And this is a really tough posture, so many yogis make it look like it's just so easy and you just reach back and there's the ground, and really that is just not true. It is very, very difficult. So many of us have very, very strong backs from standing all day long, or from whatever job it is that you're doing. Back muscles are really, really tight, and they just don't want to let go and bend backwards, which is totally natural for the spine. So do not beat yourself up if back bending is very hard for you. But I'm going to give you a couple of tips today that hopefully will help you find a deeper, more comfortable back bend like wheel. So a couple of things that I want you to think about is that you don't just have to be flexible. It is not just for the flexible, it is for the strong. You have to have very strong shoulders, very strong low back, and very strong glutes and legs. So I know a lot in Ashtanga they say relax the glutes, but I'm going to talk to you about that today, and I just do not agree with that. The glutes are so important. So a couple of things that I always do before I back bend is I strengthen my back. I'm asking it to do a lot of work, so I do a lot of exercise to strengthen the back. I will demonstrate a couple of them for you right now. You're welcome to do them with me if that's what you'd like to do. So first things up, strength. And I like to do positions on the ground like locust pose. So you can have arms out in front of you, back by the sides, interlacing behind you, or at the head, but lift your chest, peel your heart open, engage the legs, squeeze the butt, and really find your strength between your shoulder blades and in your low back. Now, if that's really hard for you, you could find a way to kind of glue your feet to the ground. You could have somebody sit on them or tuck them underneath a mattress or a couch and work on doing your locust pose that way. Or you can lift the legs as well. So there's another version where you lift the legs and you lift the arms, lifting the whole body like a Superman. Maybe you want to flutter over each other like scissors, whatever you want to do. But get a good strong back before you start to ask it to bend in a back bend. The next thing I want you to think about when it comes to back bending is that it's not just the flexibility of the back, it's the flexibility of the hip flexors and of the fronts of the shoulders. So because the hips are so strong, they don't like to let go. So spend a little bit of time in postures like pigeon pose, not so much for the hip opener, but because of this big hip flexor on the straight leg, or upward facing dog, or cobra, really squeezing your booty so that you can open up those hip flexors. And then, like I mentioned, you have to be able to open the shoulders as well, because in order to back bend, a nice big open back bend, you have to have the arms very, very open through this front of the armpit, through the chest. So I like to use the wall or the floor to really work on my puppy pose. So starting down on the floor, kneeling, walk the hands away, drop the chest or the chin towards the floor. Really thinking about opening up the armpits, relax the chin, not only breathing into your back, but breathing into your chest. Once this becomes easy, you can tuck the toes and begin to straighten the legs. Like I mentioned, you can also use the wall to do that, so it's the same concept, but with the wall. So you just walk over, drop your chest, kind of sticking your butt out, melting your chest to the wall. That's a really nice way to open up the chest and the front of the shoulders. And then as far as the hip flexors go as well, you can work in lunges. So one foot forward, the other foot back, dropping that back knee. I'm not as much worried about this front hip because if I'm back bending, I want the hip flexors to open up and lengthen. So really feeling the stretch here and not worrying about the compression here. All right, so we've talked about getting that strength through the low back. We've talked about getting those shoulders to open, the low back to relax, but I also really need you to engage those glutes. So while you're doing those stretches on the floor, go ahead and come onto your back and let's do some glute bridges. So feet just outside of the glutes. I like my toes to face outward slightly. I know a lot in Ashtanga they say feet parallel, but if that doesn't work for your knees, don't do it. You can turn your toes slightly out and give your knees a little bit more space. Draw your shoulder blades underneath you slightly, and then lifting the hips. I have found the more that I have worked on strengthening the glutes through these glute bridges, really squeezing at the top, the easier my back bends have gotten. I did nothing to work on my flexibility. I just worried about engaging those glutes, strengthening that bum so that I could protect my low back. Now I do those glute bridges nearly every day, not every single, maybe 3 to 4 or 5 times a week depending, and it has made all the difference in my back bending practice so that I don't get that low back pain that so many people get when they're back bending. Okay, so the other thing that I want you to think about is gaining strength while you're in a back bend. One other exercise that I do before I go into my back bends is I do some wheel push-ups. So now that the back is engaged, the hip flexors are open, the bum's ready to turn on, I get myself set up and I do some wheel push-ups. So bringing the hands down by the ears, fingers pointing towards the toes, draw the elbows in, push with the feet, and maybe you can only come onto the head. And that's fine in the beginning. And you just want to work on pushing out of the shoulders, engaging the butt, and getting the head off the ground. And those may be your wheel push-ups. But if you can get all the way up into your back bend, engaging the glutes, lengthening through the shoulders, then do a full push-up where you bring the chin or the nose down to the ground. Or close to the ground, not all the way. Nice way to really get some strength before you start working in those back bends. All right, so let's get ready to work on that back bend. If you're still having a little bit of an issue getting your hands to the ground, one other tip that you may want to try is using blocks instead of putting your hands straight on the floor, because that gives you a little bit more space through the wrists. I know a lot of men have very, very tight wrists, and that in itself can make it very hard for them to find their wheel pose. So you can use blocks. You can even prop your blocks up against a wall to get a nice angle, and that will give you a lot more space and flexibility through your wrists. Okay, so let's go ahead and start on our wheel pose. Start with coming down onto the ground. Feet a little wider than hips width. I like my toes slightly facing out. You may want yours parallel. Get ready to engage the glutes. Legs are active. Fingers come down, maybe slightly facing out if you have very tight shoulders. Take a big breath in, engage those legs, push with the feet, hips up, and then the chest. Remember to breathe while you're here. One of the important things that you should think about when you're in your back bend is to open up that chest. Send your armpits forward. Open up your heart. And make sure that you're keeping those glutes engaged. If they start to relax, you're going to feel that pain, that pinching in your low back. So then come on down and take a break. You're not going to be able to stay up there for a very long time in the beginning. In the beginning, I only had 10, 15 seconds and I had to come down. So you're going to have to build your way into, staying longer and longer in your back bend. But be okay with that. Just like when we were learning to kick up in a handstand, you kick up, you kick up, you kick up, and that builds your strength in your shoulders. When you're working in your back bend, that pushing up out of the ground, coming back down, staying there as long as you can, engaging those glutes, engaging the legs, those kinds of things will come with time. So let's go ahead and come into it again, really squeezing your booty the whole time, engaging your legs, pulling your hamstrings towards your quads towards your hamstring, planting those feet down, really anchoring the heels into the ground, pushing out of the hands, pressing out of the shoulders, open up your armpits, all right? So lots to think about when you're in a back bend, but it certainly isn't about the flexibility of your back. That comes with the strength of all these other things that we're thinking about. So coming into that position, big inhale, and lift up. Now you can slowly start to either walk your feet in a little bit closer, making sure that as you do, the butt is staying engaged. If your knees are very tight when you're here, you may like it better up on your toes. I had to stay on my toes for quite some time until I found a little bit more strength through the legs. Keep pressing out of the shoulders. So much work comes from the shoulders being strong and open. And keep breathing slow and steady. Let the neck be nice and long. You don't need to look down between your hands. Just let the head hang. Lift the chest high. Press out of the feet. Strong legs, strong butt. After you've had enough time here, exhaling slowly under the crown of the head or right down onto your back. Now what's really important after you've been working in your back bends is that you always make sure to counter pose. So draw your knees in, curl into a little ball, kind of massaging out the low back. And when you're able, sitting up and finding a forward fold. So back bends are very energizing, very opening to the nervous system. We kind of want to close that back down, calm everything so that you're not staying awake till 3 in the morning because you were working on your back bends. All right, so I'm going to give you a couple other tips if you are looking to find your drop back. So dropping back from standing into your back bend. So this can be really, really spooky for people. And in the beginning, I suggest that you use a wall. You can always go to the wall, reach up and over, find the wall, and slowly walk your hands down. Now, if you've been there and you've done that and you're looking to get that drop back away from the wall, I'm going to give you a couple ideas of how you can do that. So again, get your feet nice and wide. You don't want to have them hips width and parallel. That's really scary, and you won't feel like you can catch yourself. So nice wide stance, toes slightly facing out. My right arm is my stronger arm, so I'm going to reach back with my right arm, not up and over in the beginning, just back till I can feel the ground and work on coming back up. Now let's try with the other hand, just for that balance. I'm just reaching back, knees come forward, engage the glutes. There's the ground. Now maybe you can't come back up, just come all the way down and make your way back to standing. Do that for a little while till you feel nice and solid and that reaching back isn't so spooky. Then after a while, when you've gotten comfortable there, we're gonna kind of start cartwheeling the arms. So I'm gonna lift the left arm, come to my knee, left arm holds, right arm feels for the ground. And reverse that, right arm up and the left. Let's do the second side. Right arm reaches for the knee, left arm reaches for the ground. Pull through those glutes, reach forward with the hips. Left arm comes forward, cartwheeling them back up. And we'll make the cartwheels bigger and bigger until we're reaching all the way up and over, kind of flipping that grip instead of just reaching behind. What's super important is that you feel very solid through your feet, that the glutes are engaged, you're pushing those hips forward. We won't even work on standing back up. That's a whole nother level. So right now, reaching up and behind, drop back. Maybe that left arm reaches up and over and reaches. Then just come back down, drop the hips, stand back up. Let's do the other side. Reach with that left arm, drop it down, and maybe just reach as far as you can with the right. Drop the hips, stand back up. After you've played with that for a while, maybe you're ready, maybe, to reach all the way up and over. So let's give it a try. Reach with that right arm, cartwheel the arms down as far as you can. Engage the glutes, engage the glutes, engage the glutes. Slow catch. Push, push, push the floor away. Come down, rest for a moment. If you need to curl in, forward fold, please make time to do that. Back bends are so complicated. They're so complicated, they look like they should be easy, but they're not. Remember too that as you kind of drop back, fall back, it doesn't have to be your prettiest back bend. So if you're in the beginning, reaching back, and you get the ground, this is still a back bend. That's okay. This isn't where I'm going to stay, but it's the beginning. And so be okay with it being kind of messy, kind of ugly in the beginning, because that's where we start. That's where you find your bravery. So let that be okay. So now we're still working on reaching up and over. Like I said, let it be ugly. You'll clean it up once you get to the ground. So really sending the hips forward, lengthening up through the spine, reaching my heart not only forward, butt up towards the ceiling. Keep those glutes engaged the whole time. That's your key to safety. And then think about your arms like springs. So the elbows are going to bend a little to catch, to get kind of embrace the ground, and then the shoulders are going to push and push away. So here we go. Send the hips forward, engage the glutes, reach the heart up, lengthen the spine. Looking up, maybe dropping the head down. Where's the ground? Where's the ground? Reach, 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 reach. Bounce. Now push. Hopefully that made sense. Let's go over it one more time because I know it happens so fast. Get a nice wide stance. Tuck the glutes in, anchor the heels, or anchor the tailbone towards the heels. Send the hips forward. Lengthen up through the spine. Lift the heart, not only forward, but up towards the ceiling. Now I'm going to lift my arms. Find that length. Reach tall. Lead with the heart and the chin. Reach as tall as you can. Squeeze the butt, squeeze the butt, squeeze the butt. Reach, reach, reach. Push the floor away. Now you can clean it up. Walk your feet in. And like I said, we'll work on standing back up another day. I want you to get really comfortable with dropping back, with hanging out in your back bend before you start moving on to something new. Dropping back can feel really scary. So if you're nervous about it, maybe put a pillow down. Work in the grass. The grass is a great place to back bend, to find those drop backs, because you don't have as much fear that you're going to hurt yourself. You know, it's where I always learned when I was a kid, was in the grass, because you knew the ground was going to catch you and you'd kind of bounce off. Let me think if there's anything else that can help. Envision it. See yourself dropping back. Know that you can. So much. I see this so many times with yoga students. They're afraid. They're afraid, and they think something very bad is going to happen to them. Likely in their shoulders or their head, but you have to know your arms were meant to embrace that bounce off the ground. They will hold you. That's why those yoga push-ups, those back bend, wheel yoga push-ups are a really nice idea, because you get that strength through your arms. You know that your arms are strong enough and stable enough to catch you. Squeeze your butt. If you feel like, Kelsey, I can't squeeze my butt, then spend a month working in your glute bridges. Get super, super strong through your glutes, and then come back to your wheel pose. Because if you don't have strong glutes and strong legs, really that wheel pose is a little bit more scary. You need your glutes to hold you up. And then lastly, accept that it's not always going to be beautiful, and that some days you have an amazing wheel and some days you're tight and stiff as a board, and that is okay. It's really about opening up your heart, lengthening your spine, and not about compressing and getting it as deep as you can. I am never going to be one of those yogis that talks to you about catching your heels. I mean, I do like Kapotasana, but I'm never going to do a standing drop back and catch my heels, and I'm totally okay with that. All right, so one last thing maybe to think about if you are working on your back bend and you want to get it really strong. So not only do you need to work on squeezing those glutes and getting those really strong and engaged, I want you to finish up your back bending day with sit-ups. So bicycle crunches are my favorite. You could do reverse crunches. It doesn't matter. Go find one of my other crunch videos where you work the abs, but get the abs strong, because our body works in balance. There's always an opposing muscle that works together. So if we're asking a lot of the low back, which we are when we back bend, these muscles get very, very tight. It's because these muscles have to lengthen and let go. So if we want to find that equal balance strength, we got to get strong through the core again. So I always finish up back bending with, for me, I try to do like 100 bicycle crunches, but I started with 20. So if you want to start with 20, start there and work your way up. But get your ab exercises in when you're done working your back bends, because it makes a huge difference, and you're going to be like, oh my God, my back doesn't hurt anymore, even though I'm doing back bends and those always hurt my back before. Get those abs strong and they won't hurt you nearly like they used to. So hopefully that helps you guys find a little bit more bravery in your back bend, in your Urdhva Dhanurasana, in your wheel pose. Remember, lengthen the spine, lift your heart, squeeze your butt, and push that floor away. Make sure that you're getting really strong first, getting those backs really engaged and strong, getting the glutes engaged and strong. This is something that you're very capable of doing. And if it doesn't look beautiful, who cares? And who says what's beautiful and what's not beautiful? If you feel really good when you open your heart, that is beautiful. So I'd love to see what you're doing. If you work on this on Instagram, please give me a tag. I'm Kelsey Yogi on there as well. I hope you guys have a really, really good day. If you worked your back bends, you get in those bicycle crunches, it's gonna make a huge difference. You will see. Make sure that you like this video if it helped you at all, maybe even one tip that really helped your back bend to open and lengthen. And make sure that you subscribe because I'm uploading all the time. And that is it for today, guys. Take care, have an amazing day. Be good to each other. Namaste.